You guys were great. The guys that rebuilt the stairs are actually, I'd call them brick masters or pavement masters because they knew how to put them together and knew how the structure.
We want to stand behind our work. We want to leave you a premium. Well, thanks so much for making the time here. It's an honor and pleasure to work with both of you. What was the differences between the contractors? What stood out to you? What did not stand out to you?
It was night and day, both from the professionalism of the quote to the price. Even there was
we
really
didn't go
never.
with the lowest bid.
No, and it was the most comprehensive bid we got too. I mean, most of it was like scratched on a piece of paper kind of bid, and it just didn't make sense to us. You know, somebody would come out and kind of do rough measurements, but not sit down with us and really talk about it. So it was Stabuilt really from the very beginning.
So my daughter is an interior designer. And so she had an application where she could take a picture and then sketch over the top. So she'd rough sketch this view. It's over my shoulder here. And so we sat down, I think with Brian was out here and said, this is kind of our vision. And he said, we can work with that. And so a week later we had drawings and all the explanations and details. This is going to be this and this is how it works. So I was very impressed with that. So I work with a lot of engineers. So I'm looking at what details we all looking at because you put the bid together. And you guys stood out as having the experience, because that's what the details tell me. You got experience.
And so you said you didn't go with the lowest bid.
Yeah.
So you kind of hit on that. What things were you for sure looking for when you were set out? What were the things that were going to be absolute no's, or these were the absolute things we must have in the contract of choice?
Good communication and willing to work together, because we knew a couple things. The house doesn't sit perfectly square in the lot, so try to put something square around it. Things aren't going to be perfect. And so we need to be able to work and kind of agree to change things on the fly, because there's lots of kind of weird stuff. I mean, there's a big wow in the road up here, and there's a rock in there it's probably a 2-ton or 3-ton rock that we had no kind of work around rather than try to dig up or chip away at.
We really wanted to feel like we were spending the money with somebody who was going to stand behind it. And that really came through from the very beginning. Like I said, bids that were just kind of scratched out on a piece of paper, we're not going to cut it for a job this big. And we knew that. And as he said, communication, because we'd already been through some really big projects. And so we knew that we needed to spend wisely and choose wisely.
So the warranty obviously came to the project. How important is a warranty to you? And can you speak about your experience with the warranty?
Well, the warranty was absolutely important. That's one of the things I looked at. I think one of the bidders was, if you have any problems, just call us and we'll come take care of it. And we've obviously used it. So it's kind of paid off. And that also tells me there's a company that wants to do it right, because warranties, you don't want to have to exercise them, because nobody really wins on that. But just the fact it was there said you guys are going to stand behind the work and the crews that you hired to go through the work.
It was really important.
So you had to use the warranty, which is unfortunate, but also fortunate for you, right?
Yeah, I was glad we had it.
Yeah.
And through the whole thing, I didn't want to be that guy in Des Moines and in your crew meetings.
Yeah, definitely not.
Yeah,
definitely not. We want to stand behind our work. We want to leave people a premium, and it's after so many jobs. I think we've done close to 7,000 different hardscape jobs in people's backyards.
Yeah,
there's going to be something that we need, whether a step tread or whatever it is. How was that process? You said you found out there was something you need to fix on your project. What was that process like?
Actually, for both times, it was really easy. On the email and say, hey, I got a problem. I need you to come take a look. I'm not sure how to fix. And then the last time it says it was just happening again. So I said, hey, I think we need some more warranty work here. And you guys were great. I mean, I didn't expect things to be fixed in a week. I kind of figured because the stairs weren't unsafe, they were just failing. And so I figured, well, sometime in late July, August, we probably get on the schedule, and here we are into June and it's already fixed. So I mean, that was impressive. I mean, I know you guys are really busy. Thomas was a dream to work with. He was awesome.
And Leland's a hard act to follow. So
yeah.
So-
Leland put up with a lot. I mean, that was one of the things in the communication. I kind of wanted to check in every couple of days to make sure things were right, or if we had to make an adjustment or something. And we needed that. We had some issues that we dealt with, and some corrections that we had to make. And Leland was on top of it, just like Thomas was with these guys.
Awesome. So how do you feel with the end result of the product that you're left with, and how has that impacted the way you can entertain outside or just enjoy your space?
We had really stopped using a lot of the yard. It wasn't really usable, and we still have a few projects left to go, but we have lived out here since then. It has made all the difference in the world for us. We've had parties on the patio. We just did our granddaughter's first birthday party out there, and we pretty much live out there. If it's not raining,
We'll be outside.
we're out there.
The grandkids play. I mean, it's the yard's nice now, and they can come out and go barefoot, run through the sprinkler, whatever they need to do. So it's kind of set that stage. Even without the fence, it's kind of, the dog's learned her boundary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
It's not a large lot, and we have a Rambler, so it's got a pretty big footprint, and it was really important to us to sort of reclaim every space because of that. And this far exceeded really our expectations about how we would use it. It's really, it was really a gift, especially with COVID and everything. It just was, the timing was perfect.
Yeah. So I guess maybe from somebody that's not used to having construction projects done, what advice can you give them, anybody that's watching this video, to understanding what a construction process is like from start to finish? Maybe what are some struggles or problem points you might run into that should be kind of understood, and how you kind of like to approach and deal with them?
I guess don't be afraid to ask dumb questions. Why is this done this way instead of that way? Don't do a lot of Google search on how you do it yourself, because it may not be right. But be a little bit educated in what to expect and what's right. Kind of understand how the product works. Look at the product drawings and know that there needs to be gravel on the bottom, and they need to be stacked a certain way. So if you see something not quite right, you can get a hold of the project manager and say, I've got a question I need you to look at.
Yeah, as the homeowner being here through the entire process, you sort of end up being, by default, your own general contractor, no matter how big the company is that you're working with, because you see it every day. And the communication was so important. I think if you don't feel like you have that kind of rapport when you go to contract with something like this, probably not working with the right company.
You need to take a pause.
Yeah.
Then how did you guys pick the products that you chose here? What was that process like for y'all?
There was some options, but we pretty quickly agreed. I wasn't hard over.
Well, I'm colorblind, so I said, you pick the color.
And so we pretty much, took the brochure and walked around and looked at the color of the house, and were we going to paint the house a different color or not? And we're not. And so it felt right.
And there's other decisions, like, do we clear coat to keep the wet look, or do we let it just go natural? And I didn't want the maintenance, so we just let the blocks bleach, and we'll clean them and pressure wash them. A lot of little decisions. And Brian was really good at kind of helping us through some photos and those.
So there's a couple different pieces to your project, right? So which of them do you guys think you like the best? What has brought the most happiness to you and maybe changed your yard for the better, the most?
The silly lights. The recommendation, and I kind of balked a little bit because they weren't real cheap, but I'd do it again in a second, is the lights along the stairs, and we ordered enough, we were able to do the driveway. So when they come on at when it's nighttime, they stay on all night and go off in the morning, and it just changed the whole look of the property, just having those lights lighting the wall and the end of that outline. I think that's the big thing for me.
Yeah, there's a lot of pride. We get a lot of comments on it. It's, you know, we're a corner lot. It's pretty obvious what was going on. And so for me, it's certainly the patio, although the staircase is impressive.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that was an interesting one. We want the staircase. My requirement was the stairs of no less than 4 feet wide. They ended up a little bit 5 feet, which is even better. So it's got to have a nice wide, so we can get one person going down, one person going up, and it doesn't feel all cramped going up and down the stairs. And almost everybody that comes by comments on how nice the stairs are.
I think that's a good point you just pointed out. Not to cut your stairs down to too narrow, just
Yeah.
to save on money.
oh yeah, or even to save on space. It was more than worth it to give up an extra foot of.
Yeah, our original design
long-
had a block wall with a garden kind of in front of the stairs, and we just kind of ate that up and widened the stairs to do that. So
I appreciate you taking the time to give us this testimonial.
Sure.
And we appreciate the trust that you gave us in doing this big project for you. It means a lot to us, and we don't take it lightly. And we look forward to working with you in the future and being here for you as well.
sure, we got projects in the future. We got a lake cabin in Shelton, and I hear you do Mason County, so and we don't have to worry about permits there.
Yeah.
It's all down.
And
the-
we've referred, you know, not
we keep sending
hesitated-
people your way. I don't know if anybody's
not hesitated
done work yet,
ever.
but
Yeah. Well, thank you. Yeah.
Well,
That.
So if you were to give us 3 words that would describe Stabuilt,
reliable.
that's awesome.
When I called and said we got problems at the stairs, I didn't have any. There's no thoughts we're gonna have to argue this, go arm wrestle over it. I just-
Even during the project.
Yeah,
If people were going to show up, they showed up. I mean, it was, so that was,
yeah, if somebody wasn't on time for traffic or whatever, I got a text. It's not 1 hour later.
yeah.
Whatever. Can
Yeah.
we meet Monday instead of Friday?
Yeah.
And it was just great. We had good communication and good, and there was no surprises.